On this week's Happy Hour, WWE Superstar Dolph Ziggler wrecks Callahan's Hollywood tours of Cleveland, and of course, me, the Happy Hour regular, Jocelyn. And now, from All Saints Public House in Cleveland, it's Happy Hour with Steve Guy.
Welcome to another episode of Happy Hour with Steve Guy. I am your host and bartender, Steve Guy. We have a sit down this week. It's over the internet because our guest, while he's from Cleveland, is not currently in Cleveland, but he's got a lot to talk about the city itself, where he grew up, and what else is going on in his life. He is current WWE Superstar Dolph Ziggler. If you know him from the Cleveland area, you may just simply know him as Nic Nemeth. So we have a great conversation with him and so much more going on in this week's episode. But first, here's what people are talking about at their happy hours. Jocelyn, the pitcher last week that we talked about, Zach Plesac for the Indians. You don't follow baseball. You're not as excited about this as I am, obviously. Not that we should be excited, but he wasn't the only one. With him was pitcher Mike Clevenger, too. He's the guy with, like, long, blonde, flowy hair. You know what I'm talking about? You know him, Sunshine, yeah. So he was a son of a bitch and was out with Zach Plesac, didn't tell the entire team, and flew back with them.
How they found out?
I have no idea, actually. But he's admitted to the fact that it happened. So I don't know who found out. Maybe some girl posted it on Instagram.
Why would you want to expose your teammates like that?
One of the pitchers on the team had leukemia last year.
Oh my God.
This is why they're so pissed. Yeah, I don't, like, all across sports, people are, I don't get it. They're doing dumb things. You're making millions and millions of dollars. And you're like, that's not worth it to me. I'm going to go hang out with these people and try to get some tail because I'm Mike Clevenger with my long, flowy hair. And, you know, I'm bro douche. Like, fuck off, man. Like, what the hell? They're not the only ones either. Football started back up.
Oh yeah, that football player for the Seahawks. It was a rookie, tried to sneak a girl into his hotel dressed as a football player. She had on all Seahawks gear.
Would you dress up as a football player to sneak into an NFL player's hotel room?
I mean, how good is it?
I mean, I don't know. He wasn't even like, he wasn't drafted. His chances of making the team were already slim.
Oh, well, he definitely got cut now.
Yeah, he did. Why? Like, man, dude. And I hope it was good. I hope it was good, dude.
I hope they actually bang. That'll make it worth it.
I would hope so. It would not be. You think she stayed with him for the long haul?
No.
I don't. If you found out, if you did that, and you found out that he was cut, would you just dump him, just drop him?
Yeah. How dumb are you? You just proved it.
But you just dressed up as the football player to get in.
I mean, she doesn't have much to lose. He apparently lost everything.
And she's out. What the hell? It's whatever. And then it's. I know that stuff's kind of serious, but it also serious stuff. I hear that the Fresh Prince is coming back.
Yeah, they're making an hour-long drama.
So, because of the whole Jada and August thing, I'm assuming that the Fresh Prince sleeps with Aunt Viv in this one and creates drama. Is that what happens? Is that how that goes?
No. No entanglements.
There are no entanglements that you know of.
I think they're just going to like dive into some of the more serious topics on the show.
There were, okay, in fairness, there were a lot of really good, serious topics in The Fresh Prince. That's why you don't have to make the whole thing a drama. It should be a dramedy. I almost said you don't have to make it a dramedy. It should be a dramedy, not a drama. Like, it was fun, and we laughed at Will and Carlton and Ashley.
Remember Carlton was addicted to drugs?
I don't remember that.
He was, I think he was taking Adderall or something.
Was it? I don't know. I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
And then on other, like, serious stuff in the world, COVID is hitting places. So New Zealand went 100 days without a COVID case. And now they just have a handful, and they're shutting things down. Meanwhile, we have thousands and thousands a day in the U.S., and people are like, you can't do that. And there were 600 or something in Italy, which hasn't had many for a long time, and they're shutting down again. Like, Italy's population is the combination of California and Florida. So they have like 60 million people. and they had 600 cases within a day, and they're like, we're shutting things down. You got to wear masks from X amount of time to X time, and they're shutting down nightclubs. They're shutting down nightclubs. With just under, yeah, sorry, disco. Disco. It's Europe. That's what they do. Yeah, there was no more fist pumping in Italy for the time being and the foreseeable future.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So while we keep chatting about what's going on around at different happy hours, here is a news segment for you, because Cleveland is known for a few different films being here. Many that you've known about, many you didn't know about perhaps, but there are plenty of iconic sites around town that have been featured in big-time Hollywood movies. So we put out our very special tour guide to show you around town. This is Rex Callahan's Hollywood Tours of Cleveland.
Oh, hey, Steve, yeah, it's your old pal Rex Callahan, and on today's trip to see where in Cleveland that's been filmed, we're here at the old Westinghouse plant. Now, this building was built in the late 1800s and went to about 1980, something around there, and we've seen some great movies filmed in this building, such as White Boy Rick, or The Land, All the Bride Places, Native Son. And, you know, in this very spot, this is where the Avengers shot. They were interrogating Black Widow, and, yeah, I can take the call. I'm sorry. Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm in the middle of something right now. Yeah, I'm trying to get them to tell me what movie is going to shoot in this building next. All right, cool. All right, I'm on my way, thanks. Anyways, yeah, check out clevelandfilm.com. Let's go back to you, Steve.
All right, swinging by this week's episode of Happy Hour. He's doing so virtually because while he's from the Cleveland area, he's not in the Cleveland area. You may watch him on Monday nights at 8 p.m. on the USA Network for WWE Raw. He is WWE Superstar Dolph Ziggler. But if you just know him from growing up and hanging around Cleveland, specifically maybe the West Park, Cam's Corner area, you know him as Nic Nemeth. Welcome to Happy Hour, man.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah. So since I brought up Cam's Corner,
Yes.
and you know, like West Park Station and these wonderful places there, I always like to ask, what is everybody's happy hour drink of choice?
Happy hour. I like some whiskey. I'm a little spoiled with the different kinds of whiskey they have now. So, whether it's Jim Beam or Jack Daniel's Fire on the rocks, a bunch of rocks. I like that. And if it's happy hour, I might get a margarita or a dirty martini also. But, got to pace yourself and make it work. I like whiskey on the rocks, 2 of those, and you're in a good mood right away. A couple ice cold claws in the freezer for 5 or 7 minutes too. That counts as my dessert sometimes.
That's a great tidbit. If you could store the claws wherever you want, but pop them in the freezer 5 to 7 minutes.
Don't forget about them. That happens a lot.
Yeah, then you got the explosion, a claw explosion, and there's probably some.
The rolls smell like strawberry lime or something. Yeah, it's the fun.
Are there a lot of pizza rolls being eaten in the Nemeth house there?
There's a batch in there. There's a big frozen bag I saw the other. I want to say not always, but sometimes there's some in there. There's some almost. Sometimes I'll get the waffle fries. They're like the Mr. Hero fries.
Oh yeah,
big frozen bag of those, and I'll just throw them on. But I saw this giant. I think it's like I want to say it's 100 pizza rolls, but it's a big frozen bag, and I was like, what the hell? Last week I just put it in my freezer. Now every time I put a drink in there, I look, I'm like, this is gonna happen one of these days. It's gonna be soon.
It just makes me think back to when you were in town doing the comedy show at the Improv, and you, Ryan, and Sarah Tiana, and I dropped you guys off at your parents' house.
That's the best. I nothing better than that. Like getting dropped off by my mom to go do a comedy show at 37 years old or something. You're like, what? No, Mom, you're embarrassing me. Drop me off at the comedy club a block away and let me walk in.
SummerSlam coming up August 23rd, Sunday. Obviously, people, you can see it on the WWE Network. One of the things that you've been very involved in on Monday Night Raw currently is this Raw Underground.
Yeah.
Are we going to see some Raw Underground at SummerSlam?
I really hope so. I don't exactly know what's happening for SummerSlam. As far as I know, I'm scheduled to be there. So that could mean they're just bringing everybody in, or who knows. And I mean, this is starting a big week of like Thunderdome stuff that we're doing at work, to where it's interactive and all this crazy stuff. So a bunch of people wanted something different, and you got it. And then a bunch of people said, no, not that different. The different that I wanted. And you go, well, cut me some slack here. Let's meet halfway. I wasn't sure what this was going to be, but I jumped in and said, I asked to be a part of it. And once we got into 2 weeks worth, I went, this could be something really cool and really fun. And it's separate to where, like, someone like me, without boring people with the wrestling stuff, I'm pretty damn good at my job. But maybe the last 800 matches or so, I'm like 1 in 799. So like having like a slightly different show within a show kind of thing, to where you can go, this is a little bit of a different feel. I have a pretty decent background to where I could protect myself, and with a little bit of boxing and a bunch of wrestling and fight some people and make it like this cool 80s movie with this smoke-filled back room and maybe some money being thrown down and fighting in skinny jeans, which was a dream of mine since high school. But I just thought the jeans would be way bigger and baggier, junko-y.
Yeah.
But it's a cool thing, and I think it's only going to get better. I mean, at some point we'll screw it up, sure. But I think it's really cool to give this option to some other people and just show a slightly different kind of show going on. Almost like a kumite kind of thing with no rules and just some crazy stuff going down. And I think it's been pretty cool so far. I've been a fan, and I hate wrestling.
Yeah, this whole thing screams Nic Nemeth, big fan of all things 80s vibe for sure.
Like, if we could have someone Tawny Katane on the hood of a car, and then someone just like shredding a guitar in slow motion or something in the rain, we'd be all set.
Hey man, I don't know if you remember the Tawny Katane Chuck Finley stories, but she might as well be involved in Raw Underground.
Big fan of TK.
One cool moment happened this past week on Monday Night Raw. For people from the Cleveland area who are up on who's in WWE and aware of kind of their backgrounds, we got the Holy War, St. Ignatius, St. Ed's.
I'm so glad that I got to just kind of off the cuff. They're just like, hey, see what you can do. You got 30 seconds to say something. So I'm like, oh, he's an Ignatius guy. I'm an Ed's guy. What are the chances we get to do this, or let alone talk about it? I'm like, I'm going to get this in. It's a little inside, but it'll, people with Cleveland and St. Ed's and Ignatius, they'll get it. And I thought that was cool. Also, I had a lot on the line, more than you'd think, because all the years we wrestled Ignatius, if there was, at the end of a dual meet, if there was anything other than a 0 on the Ignatius side, we'd have to run miles. And luckily, I don't remember running any miles. But I want to say one year there was a 3 on the other side, and it keeps me up at night still. So everybody's different.
Well, speaking of those St. Ed years, our producer Ryan Kelly is a St. Ed's grad, and he was a couple years ahead of you. And knowing obviously that you were going to be on here, offered up this wonderful surprise for you from one of his yearbooks.
A lot of people don't know that I did like a Doogie Howser thing, to where I was 9 years old in high school, and I was so smart, but I played it cool with like all C's to even everything out, so no one would like to throw people off the scent.
Yeah.
But I think I look great. Does he know what year this was? Because I don't.
I think he said this would be your freshman year, maybe. Because I think he said he was 2 years ahead. I think he said this was his junior year, or either that, or it's either your freshman or sophomore year.
That's really funny, and it's really funny that I have like I don't know, my congressman haircut, but because I want to say I want like 23 of the first 25 years of my life, I either had a buzz head, either me doing it myself or my brother doing it, or a shaved skin on the sides 1950s flat top. So I'm in between haircuts at the time. So that's really I don't think I've seen that since it happened or I saw it.
In terms of Cleveland, you're billed as being from Hollywood, Florida, but in my mind, having grown up a wrestling fan and being around it now, I can't remember somebody that represents their legitimate hometown area as much as you do, whether it's wearing Cleveland t-shirts or the Kent State gear or St. Ed's gear. I mean, how cool is that though?
It's the best because I mean, there's a long period of time to where I mean, I don't when you're new, you don't know what you're allowed to do. You're trying to get gear that just gets flashy and gets out an action figure or something and stands out. And then you get to a point I got to a point where I was like really comfortable and I go, I'm going to switch from like these shiny things to like a hoodie that I would have warmed up with at St. Ed's or Kent State. And then I started throwing an eagle or a flash on the logo and then putting it like St. Ed's Wrestling on the back of my hoodie and just wearing it for a pay-per-view. And I just go, it's fun. Any chance you can get, just be like, hey man, in normal times I would be bound, I have a crazy job where I travel 50 weeks a year. So I can kind of bounce back and forth on a plane. So as much as I don't live there, I can be back and forth a couple times a month if I had to. But I bounce back and forth whenever to see some friends or Monsters game, Cavs game, Browns game, whatever, you name it. And it's just to be able to represent and like let everyone know, like, hey man, this is it's my town. That's what I do. This like we would trade all the Cavs championships for a Browns playoff game. Yes, we would actually do that. And so that's why I'm wearing this orange stripe on my pants or something. Like it's so funny to me.
Having grown up in this area and visiting it from time to time, what are I guess let's start. What are some of the cool things that you miss from being a kid here that you got to partake in, and maybe it's not quite here so much anymore?
Oh man, I'm trying to
say
think.
jog a lake.
I mean, it's so funny to me that a bunch of people's vacations, they used to be like people at work, they'd be like, oh, vacation, we went to California or we went to Epcot or we went to Disney. And I was like, oh, we went to either Geauga Lake or Cedar Point, depending on how the year went. And I was like, I'm like, hey, can we stay in a hotel on the way back? They're like, no, we don't have money for the days in. We're going back home tonight. Like, all right. But it's, I thought that's what vacation was
Same.
Doing a day at Cedar Point and coming home that night, which was awesome. And as a kid, it was like this 19-hour day that was so great. And you were so tired by the end of it that you could get in the car and then a grown-up's driving and you can kind of pass out because you just ran around everywhere all day and rode rides.
Let's shift gears here. We saw your very congressman-like freshman year photo earlier. You are I don't know if fan of politics is the way to describe it, but it certainly catches a lot of people off guard who follow you on social media and have never really had a conversation with you. But where did this really deep-seated interest in politics come from?
Let's see. I didn't really. So as a kid, I don't know what the hell's going on. You don't follow the news. It's like seems like a punishment. But through high school, I mean, I want to say sophomore, junior year of high school, I was interested in it and ran for what the hell was secretary / treasurer of like junior class at St. Ed's or something, just because I wanted to get involved and figure out what the hell's going on. And I won. No big deal. It's fine. I don't want to say landslide, but like it was a big win.
I mean, with that haircut, we saw.
That hair. I mean, how do you not? If I had some suspenders on and like one of those old timey hats. So I got interested. I remember the last day of high school, we went around the room. And they were just like, it was just our last day, it's the last couple hours of school and you graduate forever. And they're just like, everyone's just saying like, where are you going to be in 10 years? What are you going to do? And I was like, in 10 years, I'll go, in 10 years, I would have retired from the UFC undefeated. And you have to remember, it's not UFC 252. There's
Right.
6 UFCs at this point, and there's no rules, and it's very much Raw Underground at this point. And I retired from UFC, and I used that to get on Saturday Night Live. And on Saturday Night Live, it went so well hosting that they gave me a tryout with WWE. And I used and then from 10 years on from there, I'll be running for governor of California or something. And, I've like 2 of those 4 are kind of up in the air right now. But the plan was to like be a badass fighter / wrestler and use that to become a politician of sorts and and I was like, I'm somebody who's not going to be for sale. This is going to be great. I don't care about money. I want to help out the community. I want to help out states, bounce around. And then I studied political science and pre-law at Kent. Loved it. Got involved. I loved the classes. I loved the later classes when it's just more like, because everybody learns like this generic, like here's how government works. Here's the 3, and then you're like, okay, that's fine. Now let's get to the good stuff. And they're like, so what you do here is you start a shell company and it sends money here. And you're like, oh, okay, here's the real stuff. Like this is like the stuff I'm interested in. And I really enjoyed those later classes so much. I had so much fun. And we had a tie while I'm in college. We had a tie for president, and no one cared. Nobody cared. I was studying politics in the middle. And by the way, in these older, it was like senior level 5,000 whatever class. It was like you just talked a couple hours a week, and then at the end of the semester, you turned in an 80-page project, and that was it. And and it was all based on it was like the presidency or whatever. Like that's what the class was. And I was interested in that stuff. And there was a tie, and I was just like, I guess I get a couple extra days to work on my paper. Like I didn't care. Now this year there's going to be no winner on November 3rd. And there's going to be an entire country in flames, sadly. And it's going to be crazy and chaotic, and everyone's going to be suing each other. Anyway, politics used to be really fun. So I have to make that very clear when I talk to people. I'm like, oh, I'm into politics. It was my major, whatever. They're like, I go, before 2016, I was into politics. Just so you know, I was here first before everybody became a political analyst. I go, it used to be everybody I worked with would go, hey, what's this thing going on in politics? Now everybody I know and work with and meet online go, here's what's going on in politics. And you're like, you just started doing this because you're mad. Like, okay.
Let's go to lighthearted stuff because if we were talking about comedy early, and I want to get back to it because the very first time I ever met you was backstage at a Cleveland house show at the Wolstein Center, I think, and I was with Chris Van Vliet, and we were talking, and Van Vliet told you that I do stand up, and that was, at least as far as I knew, the first time that I had ever heard you have an interest in doing comedy. And you had said then, you're like, man, it's my dream to just pop on somewhere, put on a ball cap, and be introduced as Nick.
Do you know what year that was?
Probably 2012 or 13, maybe. You had Big E with you. Yeah, so you still had the briefcase, because I have a picture of us somewhere with us in the briefcase.
That's so funny, because I wonder how much longer after that is. It wasn't too much longer that I went to Silver Lake, California, in the back room of a coffee shop on a stage the size of like a suitcase with like 7 other people waiting to do this open mic and on their phones, not even watching me. And I was like walking up to, no, you know what? It was me and Big E were in a tag match at WrestleMania against Daniel Bryan and Kane. Mm-hmm. And it was very shortly at whenever the hell that was. It was very shortly after that. Cause I remember I go, there's 80,000 people here, and I'm laughing in the ring, and there's 7 people in their seats. 5 of them are on their phone, and I'm shaking, walking up to the microphone. My hair's tucked away in a hat. It's like, here's some guy, Nick, and I'm talking about Chipotle or trying to get laid or something, like, I don't know. And I was shaking, and I said, like, I'm like, don't drop the microphone. And I remember I wasn't supposed to be on the show, but some real comedian was a wrestling fan and was like was happy to help me out. So he goes, but you have to follow Andy Kindler because he's a real pro. This is an open mic and we're having a real guy do like 30 minutes and crush. And I was like, okay, whatever. I just want to get on the show. And then I'll never forget. I wish I remembered the joke. It's it's a dumb Chipotle joke or some shit. But I said something, and I said the punchline. And what seemed like 5 minutes went by of total silence and crickets, but it was like 1.5 seconds. And I heard one laugh. And I was like, oh, I made a laugh. Holy shit. And I looked, and it was Andy Kindler standing against the wall, like ready to walk out, but like laughed at it. I go, holy shit, he just laughed at something I said. Okay. And I probably zoomed through the 3 other minutes that I had that were probably so bad. And I got through it. And when I was done, I was like, oh my God, I want to fix this and go do this again. And it was like, it was so cool, so scary, so fun. It still scares the hell out of me, which is the best. Pace around with a notebook and drinking whiskey for 2 hours beforehand, no matter what show it is, no matter if I know it or not. Like, I love it. It's wrestling used to scare me, and now this does. So that's what's fun.
Is there anything in WWE, like a milestone or something, that you still want to accomplish?
Man, up until recently, I was trying to think if there was anything. And I mean, a match at WrestleMania, a singles match at WrestleMania with a crowd, which might be a lot to ask now. But I think something really cool, like, and I mean this in a serious, like, me and Ronda Rousey in like a WrestleMania match or a Raw Underground match or something. And I really feel like we could tell a story for a few months there with her not even around and get to it. And I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there like, oh yeah, you'd win. There's a bunch of people out there like, there's no way in hell you'd have a shot with her, which I go, perfect. If everybody thinks both those ways right now, why don't we do this?
All right. Last question, because you are notorious for being an eligible bachelor, and the show The Bachelor made its way into Cleveland and on television in early 2020 before everything was shut down and whatnot. So Nic Nemeth is the Bachelor and is taking a girl or a couple of girls on dates in Cleveland. Where are you going? What are you doing?
I love that the question isn't, would you be on The Bachelor and expose you? Like, no. That's understood. So
come on, you would be on The Bachelor.
I was contacted by them 2 years ago, and I gave them a solid maybe. But
there it is.
Also, I would really. I'm such a not fancy guy that I don't want to like. I hate when girls go like, "Oh, I just love dive bars," and they're in a $10,000 dress and they're taking pictures at the dive bar so they can go have a martini somewhere else. That's not that. I like to bounce around West Park. I know you can go downtown, then you go to even like Ohio City and bounce around. But I really, I wish that Panini's was still there in West Park so we could just bounce around West Park, never having to get out of a car, never have just walking around, never having to get in one. And then, last call. And then like, well, we kind of know the guy at West Park Station. We could stay for a little bit longer. Then Panini's is open for 30 more minutes. And then you get a sandwich on the way out. And I mean, I'd pay. Well, the show would pay for it, right? I think the show would pay for it.
I mean, you would pay.
Yeah, the show would pay. I mean, I'd send them the receipts, clearly, plus tip. And then my mom would pick us up in the van and take us back to her place. And it's a really big couch for her. Yeah. And then I could go in my room. I think that's a great. And then the next day we get up and we go work out or,
Yeah. That's beautiful.
It's at Crocker Park. She can walk around at the H&M while I get my cardio in. It's great.
And lunch at Chipotle. Although I think that closed.
If you're going out to
Crocker,
I think I got to go Cheesecake Factory, bro. It's we'll get fancy. I paid last night, so
Nick, I don't know how up to date you are on Cleveland and the Cheesecake Factory, but famous athletes only go behind the Cheesecake Factory now.
I thought you were gonna say it's something gross, like it was gone. Like no, behind the Cheesecake. Oh, okay, I know the deal. All right, got it.
Yeah, you know that story.
Well, you go behind it for dessert. That's different. I think that a good little day. It's a good little weekday.
Yeah, that's good.
Sunday be too busy. We're not going there on a Sunday.
No. Sunday, if it's the fall, you're going to the Browns game on a Sunday anyway, if you're allowed to be in there. Whatever.
Down at 6 a.m. anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no time for the Cheesecake Factory. Are you kidding me? Man, thanks so much for doing this.
Sure.
For those of you, look, you can catch Nic Nemeth as Dolph Ziggler on Mondays on Monday Night Raw on the USA Network starting at 8 p.m. And don't forget to tune into SummerSlam on the WWE Network and pay-per-views. That's still a thing even? Are people watching WWE via pay-per-view?
It's just not around here. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like our country.
All right. Well, subscribe for whatever WWE Network. It's only $9.99. SummerSlam is Sunday, August 23rd. And yeah, we're not going to see you do political analyzing, though, this year. Otherwise, I'd tell everybody watch then.
I'm going to find a way to do something because I miss it so much already. I got to go to both those conventions in 2016, and it was so fun and so informative. And everybody that you hate online, that if you talk to them in person for 30 seconds, they turn out to be really nice people. We all need to do this more. But I'm going to figure something out. But everything's virtual now. They need some better production to these conventions. We'll see what happens.
Nick, man, thanks so much for swinging by Happy Hour.
You got it, bro.
That's this week's show. Thanks so much to Nick for joining me and having that conversation, or Dolph, depending on what you want to call him, whatever. Thanks to Rex Callahan for taking us on a wonderful Hollywood tour of Cleveland, and of course to my bar regular Jocelyn and this wonderful place, All Saints Public House, for having us and letting us film here each and every week. We've come to that point of the show where we say, here's to you. We raise our glasses in a toast and cheers to somebody that did something awesome over the last week. And if you are from Cleveland and you follow the sporting world at all, you already know who this week goes to. This week, we raise our glasses, we say cheers, and we say here's to you to Stipe Miocic for his title defense against Daniel Cormier in the trilogy ending their series. An amazing fight. Went a full 5 rounds. Stipe wins by decision. And look, if you struggle to say the guy's last name, I think it's okay at this point because he can go on the pantheon of one-name people. You're in Cleveland, you say Stipe, and everyone knows exactly who you're talking about. So this week, Stipe, here's to you. All right, so that is it. That's this week's episode. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for swinging by Happy Hour with Steve Guy.